But then,
Yeah, I think we only have a week. That's a fantastic idea. I think to do that would be almost impossible,
Yeah.
I think, in a week, don't you think? Fascinating idea, though. Well, we want to make sure that if you do the chemistry set kind of idea, that we have enough time to develop these tubes and what's in these tubes. And you've got to make sure. Pardon?
Well, because originally we were talking about the hourglass, where like on like the top you have like the desert area, and then on the bottom you have like the more luscious forest area.
Right.
So I feel like what if we did like 2 and 2, like instead of like 4 bottles you have 2, so then you have one on top, one on bottom.
Right.
So
And
that
what's-
simplifies it a little bit.
What's interesting about this too, when you think about how you're thinking about these visually, that could give you ideas in terms of how things mix and how things relate to each other. So the visual aspect is really, really important. If you do the hourglass, they're both contained in one thing, right? Those separate tubes, those separate areas, that's a different idea too. And what are the possibilities of mixing with that idea as opposed to the
And I feel like
flipping idea?
also, I guess this probably goes along with photography, but you know how like, if we were actually gonna have people living in an hourglass, it would have to be like more expanded, kind of like it's tiny. You'd have to whoever is in it, it's huge.
Right, right.
So, but like in it itself, I guess you would have like the.
You can come up on drawing the board if you want. Anybody can come up and draw their ideas on the board.
Like the land would be like that, and you have a little hole in the middle where like the stuff would fall down.
Right.
So like if you were on top, you do not want to go down the hole because that would just be.
Okay, so there's actually a place in between here where they meet, and these two worlds would be aware of the fact that there's this way to get to the other place.
Yeah, I don't know. You could have something where like the people on the bottom or whatever, the people on the top feel like they've been like disgraced or done something bad to deserve there, but then also at the same time you can, like I guess you could have a society where they're very hard on each other, because if like one person flips up, because anytime randomly they can be flipped and they don't know why, so like, oh, you did something bad, you're the reason we're flipped, and now we're on the bottom.
Okay, so what happens to rationality and thought when flipping
Excuse me?
happens?
And in the middle preschool physics,
We could do what?
like if someone drops someone in the hole and they're on the bottom, the people go up. Who cares about physics?
Right, who cares about physics? Right. So what does that mean about the physical nature of the world and what the laws of the world are? This would change all
If
of
you
that.
go into the hole, you automatically go to the other, you fall on the other side, no matter who's on top, who is on the bottom.
Okay, so physics would, this idea, if you want to keep with this sort of metaphor, it would change physics and what we think about natural
Or maybe
reality.
we could choose the top and bottom can be two complete opposites, like let's say the Arctic be bottom, the Arctic could be the bottom in this like totally hot place that's known to be very, very hot to be on the top.
Okay,
The chemistry set idea is really cool, but it's kind of confusing having like one bottle in different places. What if we had like one bottle or hourglass, and then the person outside has a chemistry set, and they're dropping, like they have like maybe a bottle of desert or a bottle of forest, and then put drops of it in there to
Okay.
change the.
I'm moving the piece of paper, but I'm not saying this is what I've just done before it's gone, okay? But if you do have a self-contained image, I'm sorry my hourglass is so horrible, is this all that exists, or then is there another thing on the outside of this? And you're suggesting there could be the exterior. Yep,
can I draw?
yeah, absolutely, come draw.
Someone else talk while I'm driving.
Wait, Nicole, you have your hand up. Oh, yeah, I changed, like, it got answered.
You need a chalk, or you can,
Okay, I guess I'll do it.
I will talk then. What you said about the hot being on top and cold on bottom, I think people, going also off what you said, how people get angry when they're on bottom. It gets really cold and hard to live in if you're flipped on bottom. And I don't think it should be super hot on top. I think it should be temperate. So if you're flipped to the top, you go back to a temperate climate, and it's just much better living. And if you flip bottom, everybody gets angry because it's hard to live.
okay, so coming into narrowing what could be on the top and what could be on the bottom, Nicole, start again.
I think it would be really cool if instead of hot and cold, it would be like advanced and not advanced, I guess. So that way, like when they're flipped, they're completely like, yeah, they have to start over basically to like know how to live in the world.
Okay, okay. Stuart?
When we're talking about hot and cold, maybe we could go for tropical for hot.
Mm-hmm.
Just maybe. To be honest, there are a lot of. I mean, it could be more than tropical. It could be tropical here, desert here.
Right,
You could fit a lot within the area of just hot.
right,
Hot
right.
could mean a lot of things. So
That's right, okay, yeah, we could use the word hot, but not allow that word to limit what is actually possible within that concept. Yep,
I was thinking, like, what if the worlds weren't aware of each other?
okay.
And, like,
People just talk
That-
this time.
the hole to them is just, like, some sort of, like, anomaly,
Okay,
like a bottomless hole that they don't really have any idea what it does. And, you know, maybe they focus their, like, religion or spirituality kind of around it.
okay,
And like maybe they like throw sacrifices in or something, and then the people on the bottom, you know, have like these things that fall from the sky sometimes, and incorporate them into their own world, and so the bottom world is kind of defined by the top, but the top doesn't know it, and the bottom doesn't know where it comes from.
Can I say something?
yeah, well, okay, and then we're gonna go with, well, I have one more, we're gonna
Okay,
do,
sorry,
Stuart, what's your idea?
So, a while back, somebody mentioned that, any kind of technology that's advanced enough is indistinguishable from magic.
Uh-huh,
And if someone from the top, more advanced, however advanced we make it, falls through the hole, they could very well be perceived as a prophet in the other side.
so technology becoming magic,
Right, right.
or how technology would be perceived in a world that is magical.
That is primitive even.
Like
Let-
Thor?
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like what?
like Thor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, can I explain something?
Yep, explain yours.
I'm sorry, Abby, thought I cut you off. Okay, yeah, so I learned a lot of good stuff, and I think that wait, okay, yeah, so, first, we talk about magic trickling down, right? But this is confusing. We haven't really defined what goes down, what goes up, when it's switched, if things are put in, if drops are put in, but we'll explain that later. I'm still going off of magic trickles down, which can be technology, which could be high technology, which could be low. We have to define that. But going off that model, okay, so just basic example, okay, I'm just gonna go Arctic, cold, hot, okay, cold, hot. And then someone mentioned trading before to get resources, one might not have enough.
I've already, never mind, go on.
So someone could exploit the hole as a trade resource, or there could be multiple holes as placed here, more like a sponge. It's kind of like two bubbles and a sponge. So then people, maybe even when it's switched, people can then fall through the holes into separate sections. This is still confusing. How they're going to fall if there's different biomes inside. Maybe those become translucent, or maybe those. Yeah, that's. This is basically what I was thinking. Yeah, so magic would trickle down, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to cause dystopias. They could relate that. They could relate that into religion. They could relate that to their technology. They could how they evolve, how their creatures evolve, and then when switched, back up. So that's what I have
Okay,
thinking of.
all right, let me ask, Jenna, do you know what time it is?
It is 10:22.
Okay, and we're supposed to take a break at some point,
I
right?
think it's 10:40.
10:40? Okay, so. Emily, you had your hand up next.
My name's not connected.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Abby, of course, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Oh,
hold on, give me a sec. Okay, yeah. So I guess we were talking about having one side more advanced than the other, but I was almost thinking instead of having the top most advanced, if we did the bottom, because if you think about it, if the top doesn't, because the top's on top, there's nowhere for them to fall. So, but the bottom would only be the one to be able to figure out that there's actually something else up there
Don't switch.
when people fall down.
until it's switched, if you do decide to do the switching. Okay. Alyssa?
Going to the sponge thing, like the different holes, what if the different holes are like a portal to a certain spot and the other side?
Okay,
So
okay.
like one hole would be a portal to the top of that, and then another hole would be like to the middle of that
I just want to say, we don't necessarily have to do top to bottom, we could do left to right. It
Sure.
could be a side to side thing. And
Yeah.
another thing, if we do decide to do a more advanced civilization or a lesser civilization, possibly, maybe to equal things out a bit, the more advanced civilization could depend on the lesser civilization for resources or something else that they can't get with their greater technology. Sort of like the North and the South of America during the
Huh,
Civil War.
interesting. Okay. I think you were next.
Yeah, okay, okay. So if we don't wanna have like the higher being or whatever that switches, we could do like even though I think that's sort of cool, but we could do like a thing where it's on an axis, like, so that it slowly rotates on its own, and there's a slow ebb and flow of magic, up and down through
Okay.
the moon
So
cycles. Yeah.
the turning of this doesn't necessarily depend on something doing the turning. It could just be what it does.
Yeah.
Okay, you're next and then you're following, okay?
So, if we're still doing trading, if we're still doing, transporting through holes,
Uh-huh.
then I feel like if we're gonna do civilized, the center would be the most civilized, because they have trading, they have both options of both worlds. I feel like the farther out you get from holes, the more primitive you are,
Okay,
because then you have less, because then you're less connected to connecting to other cultures, connecting to other civilizations, because
Okay.
you have to go like pretty far up and then some.
so developing the whole model, thinking specifically about what would actually happen in the middle, right? If this were the case here and here, what would the middle actually be like? To actually determine what the nature of the middle is. We'll get back to you in a minute, I've got other hands up, and then we'll get back to you.
Sorry, I just get really excited.
Oh, it's all right, no problem. Nicole?
I've just been thinking that I feel like the bottom of the hourglass, if we do it, would be really overpopulated and the top wouldn't be. And I think that would be a really cool element to like cause problems, I guess.
Okay,
So,
like causing
Yeah.
problems, all right. So what creates the difficulty? Exactly. Okay, Abby's next, and then Jessie. Okay.
Okay, so I guess I was thinking like as far as, because I think I guess what I've been hearing is that as far as our robots, we want to focus more on like inside the hourglass.
Uh-huh.
If that's what we're doing. So outside, if we want to have something that's flipping it, I think it either needs to be like either gods or something really simple, so that we're not doing like too.
Okay,
too much.
so make sure we limit what this outside is, because all of a sudden you've got the top, you've got the bottom, you've got the middle, you have this external thing.
well-
That's a whole lot of developing.
Yeah.
One less, we've got one more person ahead of you.
Okay, so with what he was saying, I really support the idea of the center,
Uh-huh.
and but he brought on a point where they have trading, and I think that would lead to some difficulties, because I don't think the people that weren't in the center, that were on the different sides, if they had trading, then the people from the center would have some kind of conflict, and it would lead to the acknowledgement that there are two worlds. I think we should keep the fact that they know about one another as a secret.
Okay.
They don't know that either one is there.
Let me hear from Lainey. And then we're gonna go to the next step.
I was thinking, if the top is like believes in something, and they drop like human sacrifices in a hole,
Mm-hmm. He's like,
and the bottom sees someone falling from the sky,
right.
and like if they think it's spiritual, and they think that the middle is just this empty space where things fall through, and anything that doesn't make it just floats around in there.
Okay, so you're working on defining and thinking about what's in that middle section. We've been
And
focusing,
the people on the bottom who see the people falling from the sky, are like, look, another person.
what's really fascinating about this world is to do this, is talking about what different worldviews do when they see something coming from a different worldview, what happens and what can you see, how close is that to the reality of the situation or not. Do you guys, and I want this to be a fair thing, are you interested in pursuing this? Have we limited ourselves to, and I mean limited in a not negative way, because there's so much you could do with this too. Is there a different concept other than this one that we're interested in pursuing?
I've been working on one now. It's actually very similar, but
Okay,
I'm still trying to make it work.
okay, what is it?
It's-
Describe it.
4 worlds
I like it.
that are very much similar to this. And every now and then, or the worlds develop on their own
Uh-huh.
and are all separate planets, but every now and then something flips, and depending on where you are in the world, you are launched into, for lack of a better term, space.
Okay,
Orbited around the planet, I suppose, until you hit another one. Still alive.
yeah, I think the worry there is that there's 4 worlds.
Right,
You
right.
know,
And-
that's gonna be, I think that would be trouble. I think that's an interesting idea, and I think you can keep some of those concepts too, thinking about this way too.
I was
I'm
just,
not saying you should though, okay? Someone else raised their hand when I asked about this, someone, no? Are you guys all comfortable and excited about this? as a
Yes, actually,
concept?
yes. Although I wish that we knew those things.
Well, what we'll have to do is we're gonna have to work on, of course, obviously, what's this, and then think about what's external to this whole thing too, what moves it, right?
I'm just a little worried about like the center if it gets too complicated.
Okay.
Like, I really like the idea, but we're probably gonna have to like, since it's basically 3 parts, we can't have it too much like over
Right,
complicated.
absolutely, absolutely.
But I
I think
mean, it's-
that's gonna be probably a pitfall.
It's not really any different from having 3 continents.
Yeah.
How is it not
Do
different
it.
than
I mean, we have to develop 3 different things,
that?
but
Right.
it's not like we're developing 3 different entire